In a growing metropolis like Fairfax County, it becomes increasingly important to plan ahead. This is especially imperative in the fast paced world of transportation. That's where our friends in the Site Analysis and Transportation Planning Division come into play. It's a process we like to call planning ahead. It's another busy day at the Fairfax County Department of Transportation. Let's go inside and find out what's going on, shall we? Have you ever wondered how your neighborhood was planned and built? I know I have. It all starts with the long range planning efforts of the Transportation Planning section. Whether it's evaluating the transportation impacts of future land uses, conducting corridor studies for future traffic conditions, or providing long range traffic volumes for projects, the fine staff at TPS are always ready to accept the challenge of planning for the future. But how exactly do they do that? Well, it all starts with travel demand forecasting. Travel demand forecasting is an important piece in the planning process. It helps evaluate the transportation network, which in turn helps provide the framework for transportation needs in the county. But how does TPS come up with that information? It's actually a very straightforward process. Contrary to popular belief, travel demand forecasting is not voodoo and it's not black magic. It is actually a complex set of formulas that take a variety of input data like population, employment, and the highway network and use that data to calculate the number of trips generated, how they decide to get around the county, where they want to go, and what path they decide to take to get there. Thanks, team. The model can do some evaluating of its own, but it can also be used to provide traffic volume data to other divisions, and no one uses traffic volumes more than the corridor study team. Corridor studies help decide cross sections, intersection needs, phasing of improvements, and even what modes of transportation work best in the corridor. It's an exciting world filled with twists and turns. Corridor studies take a team effort, and TPS has the right team to do it. The Corridor Study Team has done analyses for some important corridors, such as Richmond Highway, the Fairfax County Parkway, and Route 7. One can't evaluate traffic conditions without reaching out to the stakeholders in the affected area. Data and numbers are great, but without feedback from the people who use the corridor, you're only getting a small portion of the picture. TPS is always willing to spark up a conversation with a concerned citizen or impacted business owner in order to find out how transportation is doing in Fairfax County. Getting stakeholders to take part in a community meeting or brainstorming session can sometimes be tough, but it's always worth it. Another way to get the stakeholders involved is a community meeting. Being able to reach a large segment of the county population and hear their feedback all at once can help provide perspective on a project or analysis. In addition, it gives staff a chance to present their findings and answer questions in a formal setting. The land use team in TPS is charged with developing the transportation plan, as well as evaluating the transportation impacts of any changes to the comprehensive plan. They also deal with any number of other long range, transportation based issues for the county. All of this involves coordinating with our partners who do long range land use planning and revitalization. It can sometimes get hectic, but keeping a calm and poised demeanor is key. The transportation planning section is not the only group that plans ahead. The site analysis section also gets in on the action. The transportation planning section can develop wonderful ideas and great concepts, but without the implementation work of the site analysis section, very little will be achieved. As such, the most important interaction between the two teams is the handoff of information from one section to the other. Each section is responsible for coordination with the other to make sure there is a seamless transition. With the transportation plan in place, the site analysis section is responsible for making sure that land use developments meet the goals of the plan while simultaneously mitigating the impact of their development on the transportation network. There are a variety of steps that are needed in order to take a development from entitlement through site plan approval, including determining what sort of traffic study is needed, evaluating proffers proposed by the applicant, conducting meetings to negotiate mitigation measures, being involved in public hearings on the application, and providing a review of the site plan. Let's take a look at each of these steps in more detail. Traffic studies allow staff to understand what impacts a development has on the transportation network. Larger developments require traffic impact analyses, whereas smaller developments may only require an operational analysis. Once the need for a traffic study is determined, it is important for the applicant's representatives to meet with staff from Fairfax County and the Virginia Department of Transportation in order to agree upon the parameters of the study. Doing so helps achieve an efficiently and consistently reviewed traffic study by all parties. The traffic study results are important because they will be used to determine what measures the applicant will need to provide to mitigate the impacts of their traffic. Compromise is key in this process, and the result should be the submittal of a successful and accurate traffic study. Traffic studies are intricate and often submitted with very little time to review, but the team has the willpower and know-how to tackle even the toughest studies, no matter how detailed they are or how many of them are submitted, all in the name of understanding what improvements are needed. As the team begins their review of the various pieces of information provided to them, the applicant may decide to stop by in order to chat about their application, just to get an idea of how things are going. Applicants believe that in order to be profitable, there are certain things they would like to achieve with their development, and periodically they appreciate the opportunity to stop by the office and let staff know about that. Staff is always willing to meet with the applicant to not only give them a preview of some of the potential issues that may arise, but to also give them some ideas of solutions that can help the process move forward. Ultimately, both sides want the project to eventually be approved, so having a discussion about how to best do so can only be helpful. When meeting with the applicant, it is imperative for everyone to remain open minded and to assume positive intent. Each party has goals they would like to achieve, and negotiation requires compromise. It is not likely that the very first idea that is presented to an applicant will be the one that is most acceptable to them, so it is helpful to think of alternative ways to achieve the desired outcome. It may take a second or even a third meeting to work through each of the issues and develop a shared viewpoint, but the end goal is for all parties to understand what information the applicant needs to provide in order to ultimately gain approval for the development application. Having that conversation early on in the process helps eliminate any confusion or misunderstanding of the county's expectations of the applicant. Now, don't leave just yet, applicant. Maybe the third time's the charm. That did the trick. Looks like we've got a winner. In the end, even if the applicant did not get everything they wanted, they should rest assured that the agreed upon outcome will have a positive impact on the community. The site analysis section is heavily responsible for reviewing land use entitlement cases, and they are also involved in the site planning process. The entitlement team and the site plan team work together to ensure that all necessary documents are always reviewed consistently, predictably, and expeditiously. The three main pieces to any entitlement case are the proffers, the development plan, and the traffic study. Proffers are voluntary commitments made by the applicant to mitigate the impacts of their development. The development plan provides details about how those mitigation measures might actually be implemented. And, as previously discussed, the traffic study provides the analysis by which mitigation measures for the application are decided. All of these things come together to help the team make recommendations for how to best achieve a well-functioning and a well-balanced transportation network. Achieving balance between the needs of all agencies is tough, and it might even cause conflict, but our team is always ready for the challenge. When the application is passed along to the site plan process, it is the site plan team's responsibility to make sure that the decisions made during the entitlement case are implemented both fairly and accurately. While the entitlement case may be more general in nature, at the site plan stage, much more detail is available. This can help the reviewer take a bigger picture comprehensive plan based need that was requested at entitlement and mold them into very specific improvements that are both designable and buildable as the project moves forward towards occupancy. There is nothing more enjoyable to the team than a successful plan approval, whether it's at entitlement stage or at site plan stage. Speaking of plan approval, the public hearing is one of the more important aspects of the process. Entitlement cases are required to be heard by both the Planning Commission for a recommendation and by the Board of Supervisors for either approval or denial. The public hearing gives each of these elected bodies a chance to hear the details of the case from the perspective of the applicant, the staff, and the stakeholders and community members that may be affected. The site analysis section attends these meetings to answer any questions that may be related to the application from a transportation perspective. An approved application is generally the final goal, but no matter the final decision, there are no hard feelings from either staff or the applicant for the outcome. There are other things that the site analysis section is responsible for beyond land development cases. One of those things is the vacation and abandonment of roads in their respective rights-of-way. When a road or its right-of-way are no longer needed, there is a process by which that right-of-way is removed from VDOT's state system. In order to do this, quite a bit of research regarding the history of the road and right-of-way is needed. There is also a great deal of outreach required to make sure that removing these pieces from the state system will not create some other issue that the county may not be aware of. Once the research and outreach is complete, and a plan is provided to the county staff showing the removal of the road and right-of-way, public hearings need to be scheduled so that the board can either discuss the removal or hear from concerned stakeholders regarding the removal. After the public hearing is complete and a general thumbs up is given by the board, the road and its right-of-way can be taken out of the state system. Site analysis also plays a role in transportation demand management, which is also known as TDM. Rather than have each person in the county drive everywhere alone in their vehicle, the county's TDM program helps commuters and travelers either take alternative modes of transportation or ride together in order to reduce the amount of vehicles on the roadway. The TDM team not only helps secure commitments from applicants for TDM strategies, but they also check to make sure the goals that the applicant promised to meet are actually being met. Transportation is one of the key elements to a successful local jurisdiction. It can be the difference between a thriving, revitalized, enjoyable society and one which struggles to keep pace with its surrounding neighbors. Each day, staff work to help convert what has been seen by some as a congested, car centric network to one that is multimodal, more efficient, and friendly to all users. Whether it's providing long range traffic volumes, conducting corridor studies, evaluating the impacts of land uses, striving for TDM goals, or just meeting with an elected official, the members of the Site Analysis and Transportation Planning Division truly represent all that is great about Fairfax County, and they certainly are one of the most important pieces of the process we call planning ahead.